Up until this point, we have been graphing linear equations using what is known as the slope-intercept form of a line. However, there's also the standard form of a line. Below is what the standard form looks like. So we have A, B, and C, which are all real numbers or some constant, and then we have the variable x and y. The standard form of an equation makes it easy for us to identify the x and y intercept of a line. So specifically, this form of a linear equation makes it easy for us to be able to find the x and y intercept fairly easily. So how would we exactly find, or how exactly would you graph the line of a linear equation using standard form? Well, let's investigate here real quick. And I didn't leave much space for this investigation, but we can use the short space that we have. So I'm going to draw this y-axis and the x-axis. So this is our x-axis, this is our y-axis. So we know when we have an x-intercept, this is an x-intercept, we know that we're going to have some value for the x value, and we know that y is always going to be 0 at an x-intercept. Because at the x-intercept, y has to be 0 because we're not up or down any value, and we're at 0. So we know that for sure at an x-intercept, y has to be 0. And then conversely, for a y-intercept, we know that x for sure has to be 0, and y is going to be some number. So we know for sure x has to be 0 for a y-intercept. So what does that tell us? Well, that means when you're finding the x and y-intercept from the equation of a line, you can plug in the values. So when you want to find a y-intercept, you simply just plug in where x is, you just plug in x for 0, and you solve for y, and that's your y-intercept. So let's start by doing that. Let's first find our y-intercept for example 1, where we have 3x plus 5y equals 15. So for a y-intercept, we're going to plug in x equals 0. So we're going to have 3 times 0 plus 5y equals 15. Now let's solve for y. Well, 3 times 0, that's just 0, so that goes away. And all we're left with is 5y equals 15. And to solve for y, we divide by 5 on both sides of the equation, and that will get us y equals 3. So what does this tell us? Y equals 3, what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that our y-intercept is at the point 0, 3. And then now, let's solve for our x-intercept. So, as we stated above here in our short investigation, we know that y has to equal 0 for our x-intercept, so we just simply plug in 0 for y. So we're going to have 3x plus 5 times 0 equals 15. 5 times 0, that's 0, so that goes away. And all we're left with is 3x equals 15. To solve for x, we're going to divide by 3 on both sides, and we get that x equals 5. So that means that our x-intercept is at the point 5, 0. And now, using these 2 points, we can graph the equation of this line. The y-axis and the x-axis. So the y-intercept is at the point 0, 3, so I'm only going to do 3 dashes on the y-axis. And then our x-intercept is at the point 5, 0. So I'm going to do 5 dashes to the right. And just for timely sake, I'm just going to use those 2 points. Oops, that's a little bad. Use these 2 points and draw this linear equation. And there you have it. That is our linear equation using those 2 intercepts.